Welcome to the Real Estate Wife Show. I'm your host, Pinky Lumba, and today I have a very, very good friend, Derek Clifford, as my guest. Derek is a successful real estate investor, author, and a podcaster. He is a founder and CEO of Elevate Equity. He took early retirement from his full-time corporate job back in September 2021, right, Derek?
That's right.
Today he has 400 plus units plus 50 million asset under management under his belt. And through his podcast, Elevate Your Equity Show, he helps corporate married couples or professionals to find and create threefold freedom: location, time, and financial. Derek has published a book as well in 2020, Part-Time Real Estate Investing for Full-Time Professionals. We're going to talk about that, which is awesome. Derek and Sophie is Derek's wife. They are now traveling around the world and creating wonderful, wonderful experiences. And they have their business on the go. We'll touch on that as well. But today we're going to be discussing with Derek about his real estate journey, a real estate investing journey, and also wanting to understand from him how he built the side hustle and how to create the passive income while he's doing all the wonderful stuff that he's doing. Welcome, Derek. I'm super excited to have you with me today.
Vinky, every time we get a chance to talk, it's amazing to me. And I don't know why we don't do this more often, but I'm glad to be joining you on the show and providing as much value as I can to you and the audience.
Thanks. And before we get started, I wanted to ask you one question. If you can share your background with us or tell us, how did you become what you are today?
Yeah, I'm going to go really quickly through this because a lot of what I did from high school and on through to college is not that exciting because it's pretty much the path that most people take. Went to high school, I went into college for engineering, got a chemical engineering degree, worked in the oil business for quite some time, started to get disillusioned with the full-time corporate job that I was getting because I was generating so much profit for my company and I didn't get a sliver of that excess profit, right? That was above and beyond my salary. So, for some reason that really struck me the wrong way somehow. And I decided right then and there for me and for my family to try to do something different, right? Do something different. And so I started to do side hustles on the side. And at the same time, I was doing the Dave Ramsey thing, right? I was saving up as much money as I could, paying down all my debt, because that's really all that I knew at the time. And then my wife is in self-development. And at the time I was working my job in oil and gas in Washington State, she showed me Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And you know that once you open that Pandora's box up, Vinky, it's pretty much, you're done, right? Like after that, there's no putting it back in. And at that point, I went and got my MBA as well, thinking I would go up into project management, build my network up. And then I came across real estate investing with that book, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. And from there, we got into a few rentals on accident. Actually, during the 2008 crisis, my wife had purchased a condo about a couple months before it. And, 4 years later, we tried to sell it, but it was still underwater. So we had to rent it out. And through that rental process, we pretty much got the taste of what it was like to get mailbox money coming in every month. And I was just addicted after that. And so then I really went full force into bigger pockets, trying to get some mentors, built up a single family portfolio, and then found Vinny in the California Bay Area where I used to live and where you currently reside. And from there, it was pretty much over. I was just like hooked on it. I kept getting more and more interested in real estate investing, but started running out of my own money. And then turned to Vinny and all of the people that I met in his mastermind to try to find a way to raise capital and start leveraging up and buying into investment properties using my sweat equity and my skills rather than my own money. That too, but mostly wanted to capitalize on some of my passion for the subject. And today we've grown to what you had said in the introduction. So hopefully that was a quick enough background and introduction as to how we got where we are today.
I think that was pretty impressive. I wanted to ask you one question though. You said you read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. Everybody says that, whosoever comes here, they read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What was one thing that kind of, struck you? Okay, I have to do this after reading the book.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things, but if I had to pick one thing, Obviously, the cash flow quadrant where you have E, S, B, and I, where you're trying to convert the income that you're making from the left side of the quadrant over to the right side of the quadrant. That was huge for me. I didn't know that there was any other way to do it, Vinky. I thought it was just E. I thought E was the only way you could make money.
That's true.
And as soon as I saw that there was different ways to create wealth for you and your family, I was like, man, I have to start figuring out a way to get some of those. And so that's what we started doing. Walked from E to S and then moved from B to I. And so we're still on that journey in a lot of different ways too. My wife is walking that journey too. And we have income coming in from all those different sources, through my wife and I. So, it's good. I think that it's a really strong concept for people to really understand that from the beginning.
Yeah, change your mindset.
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
important. Yeah. So I also wanted to ask you, you were a project manager in your past life, if I recall that, right? So
Correct.
how did that skill set help you with your real estate journey? Because that's a huge skill set that you had, right? In your corporate
Yeah,
world.
it was really important. For me, project management is all about controlling scope, time, and cost, right? Those
Right.
three things. And you notice that almost everything we do in the real estate realm, and actually anything we do meaningfully, has those three things involved, right? So it's a matter of controlling the scope, it's a matter of setting a time frame and a goal, and it's a matter of doing it for a set amount of money and for a specific purpose. So a lot of things that I learned from project management in herding cats, and motivating teams, and reading between the lines and predicting things to happen. A lot of things that I took from my career in utilities, which the utility company that I worked for because it's everywhere in California. But all of the experiences that I got from that was directly translatable into real estate investing. And dear listener, wherever you are, I encourage you to do the same. Look to take from your personal experience in your W-2 to try to leverage that somehow in the real estate investing space or in any side hustle space that you choose to go into.
That's true. Never underestimate your skills, whatever you have created in your past life. Everything is transferable. I'm going to ask you this question. This is kind of interesting question. So having a project management background and learning about the triple constraints, the scope, time, and money. So you created something similar here in the real estate world, the threefold freedom, location, time, and financial. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have to give this a little bit of context with a story because it was the way this came about was very organic, right? I have been, and both you and I, you may already be there, but back a couple of years ago, I was thinking to myself, man, I got to get this financial freedom. I can't take this anymore. I don't want to be doing two jobs. I don't want to have to a side hustle and work at the same time. But at the same time, I was grateful for it, that I had the ability to do it. But, we were looking at this financial freedom like it's this giant mountain in front of you that you're staring at. And it's so massive, because for you to be able to convert all of the income that you're making from your investments to replace what you make actively, that's a huge leap, right? So what we decided to do is when COVID hit, my wife's place of business shut down and I had the ability to work from anywhere. Just that was my setup as a project manager. I was fortunate enough to be able to do my job remotely and have meetings and do everything virtually and not experience hiccups. So it got us to thinking. It said, you know what? We don't have kids yet. We just bought this brand new house in the suburbs. Would we buy this house again if we were given the opportunity? And the honest answer was no. We had moved there because of my wife's job, which had shut down because of COVID. So she had to pivot. She took her medical practice away from being face-to-face to being online, so through Zoom calls, which is doing really well right now. And we decided to just sell the house and really just go on an adventure. So what we did was we unlocked the first degree of freedom, which is location freedom, right? Mm-hmm. I still had a job. We still needed it for finances and we still needed that, right? So we started traveling around in California and just enjoying what California had to offer, which is a lot, right? But then, a couple of months later, I started to get the feeling that it was just too much time. Like, in order for me to enjoy all these places, I was spending too much time on my full-time job. So we had built a nest egg. My wife had pivoted and we had worked together to try to build an income behind us so that we can actually start removing some of these time constraints, right, of a full-time job. And that's eventually what happened next. I left my full-time job, but I didn't yet have financial independence, right? Because now we're time free and we're locationally free, but my wife still has to work. And we still had to be drawing slowly into our savings to continue living in California. But here's the coolest thing, Vinky. We realized that in California, you need $10,000 or $15,000 a month just to survive, right? But in Indiana or in Portugal or in Greece, you need significantly less than that. You need maybe 5,000, 6,000, or 7,000 to be very comfortable. And that was already within the realm of what we had with our passive income and with some of our active income coming in from other sources. So by unlocking the degrees of freedom in steps, we had achieved financial independence just because we looked at the expense side of our equation, right? Because we could be where we wanted to be and travel where we wanted to travel. So now we have almost no possessions at all. And we're traveling around with like 6 suitcases and our car, right? And we're just Airbnb hopping. And the Airbnbs that we're staying in for, weeks or months at a time is still cheaper than what it took us to live in the California Bay Area. And now we have financial independence and time independence and locational independence. And we can travel anywhere we want. And we're taking full advantage of all that right now. So it comes in 3 degrees. And so I encourage people to think of financial freedom as layers of freedom, right? Financial freedom is ultimate, right? Yes, that's the ultimate. You can walk away from anything. But if you get yourself into a work situation where you can work from anywhere and work in a situation where you can get your job done, no matter how many hours it takes you, just get your job done, get your results completed. Those are the job situations that we recommend for people to get you most of the way to financial freedom.
Wow, I love it, because most of us, we entangle ourselves in this threefold freedom that you're talking about, because we are always tied to the location. Oh, this is my house. I'm going to live here forever. Not going to move. And the time,
Right.
because I'm working my W-2, I don't think I'm going to quit this because I have some status here. And then financially, because I'm making this much, because we cannot envision more than that. So you kind of recreated yourself or redefined yourself, which is amazing. But one question I want to ask you here. A lot of people, they do not understand the financial freedom, because when it comes to the term financial freedom, mostly people, they are comparing themselves, and me too, to others. They are financially free because they are driving Rolls Royce. But what exactly is financial freedom? Can you shed some light on that?
For sure. I mean, there's so many ways to slice this, but the way that I look at it is financial freedom is simply a number that, well, there's 2 numbers, there's 2 ways to look at it. But I think that the main piece is that if you're creating passive income for yourself by, investing with Vinky, for instance, in real estate, that creates passive returns for you while you're sleeping, while you're traveling, no matter what you're doing. And eventually you invest enough with Vinky that your passive income goals end up matching the income that you make from your full-time job. That means that you no longer need your full-time job to support your lifestyle in the way that we live currently in our lives. Okay. The other way to look at it too is you have that cash flow side, but you also have the cash side of it as well. If, for instance, you had a company that you sold, right, or you had some stock options, and those stock options matured, and they gave you about a 3-year runway to be financially independent, which means you have $3 million bucks, and if you spend about 20 grand a month to live, that gives you quite a bit of wiggle room to be able to live. It truly is a measure of time. You have the cash side of it that feeds in, that says, okay, how can I help supplement my expenses each month? But then there's also a runway component too, with if you have to tap into savings or tapping into a cash reservoir somewhere, how much will that support you so that you have the time and the creative space to build something that will eventually get you to a point where you're infinitely financially wealthy, not have, or financially free, I mean, not have like a 3-year financial freedom time frame, not a 1-year financial freedom time frame, but have an infinite one with the cash flow. So hopefully, I know that's more complicated, but there's 2 components, and I wanted to make sure that I hit everyone in the audience that's maybe looking for the basic definition of just passive equals active, and then also some of the more advanced people who are close that have a skill that they want to convert over to financial freedom, because that's exactly what we did.
That's a good one. Thanks for that. So earlier, before we started the podcast, you were talking about that how you became this digital nomad. So wanted to understand from you, how did that shift your mindset, or how do you feel now, and how you're progressing in your real estate investing journey?
Yeah, I will say that, being a digital nomad and having to pick up and move, every couple of weeks or every month or so, does make it hard to concentrate on things, but it helped us become a lot more, two things: intentional and abundant. The intentionality is pretty, you can understand that, right? Because if you want, let's say, for instance, that you're in Lisbon, Portugal, right? And you decide to do what we're doing and you continue to take your side business with you, but you're in Lisbon. Well, what days are you going to spend out in the city exploring the places that you've earned, to be at, right? And so you kind of have to walk that balance of being, okay, I can't do everything that I used to do. I can't work 60 hours a week like I used to in the States, right? Because you want to take advantage of what you have out there. And by doing that, you become more abundant. You become more, present. You have more experiences. And as you have these experiences, the life of abundance is just, it's so great, Vinky, because as soon as you step into that life and you say, you know what, I'm not going to wait anymore.
That's
To
true.
say, I can't wait to, like, a lot of people say, I can't wait to financial freedom. Like, once I get 5 years down the line, then I'll live how I want to live. Once I wait 10 more years down the line, then, I'll finally be able to quit my job and do whatever I want to do. No, that's not how it works. For me, I quit my job before I probably should have, to be honest. But it just fell into place that now the places we're living in, our expenses are lower. And now I have this abundant life where as soon as I stepped into it, people sensed my energy change. People sensed it. So brokers started calling me, investors started calling me, and then things just magically started to happen because we were living this abundant lifestyle that everyone wanted to live. So again, intentionality and what to do when you're out in these places comes about. So you're focused on what's important, on what the bottom line needs to be. And then the abundant part of it, which is living a life that you want to live now, not in the future, but right now.
Yeah, you said it very well. The key is really living right here, right now, living in the moment, because moment to moment awareness creates your destiny. Because when you're living in the moment, like right now, we're talking, this is the moment. As I stop talking, the next moment has started already. So if I'm aware in this moment, I'm creating the life that I wanted to create. And that's how the next moment is going to be dictated. So it's moment to moment awareness is very important. You cannot wait. Like you said, some people say, oh, I'm going to do this 5 years later when I have this. Guess what? They never get to do that ever. Because whatever you wanted to do, your moment is right now, right here. And that's what the whole life is. And that's what I wanted to hear from you. Thank you for sharing your experience. And that's how you're living in abundance now, because that has given you the vision of the abundance, like you're not worrying about life because you're just living nomad. It's like, I'm going to do it no matter what.
Vinky, one example I want to drive home, because I love that moment to moment thing. My wife and I believe in Buddhist philosophy, and we know that every moment that passes, you're a different person.
That's true.
And, I know it's really hard for people to think about this, but you may be listening to this podcast and you may hear something from what Vinky has said or from what I said that will change the entire trajectory of your life, right? So from one moment to the next, you're different. In a very likely scenario too, have you ever gotten like a phone call where, someone has lost their job or someone has given birth to a baby or anything like that? You're completely different on other ends of that moment, And that's not just on the mind state too. What if you're driving on the road, right? And someone hits you? That also will change you too. And so I want people to understand that the moment is right now. And the person that you are up to now is one person. And the person you are in the moment right now, experiencing things, is a different one. And who you're going to be in the future is different. So everything is always changing. And the more you can embrace that and you get comfortable around that fact, the easier it's going to be for you to be able to live this type of life that we're talking about today, right? Knowing everything changes.
That's true. And the key is being present in the moment. Like,
Yes.
most of the time we just sleep through our life.
Yep.
Living like right here, right now, that's the key. Once you're aware, you know what's going on and you have the control over your life because you will control that moment, which is gonna dictate your next moment. I'm sorry, I'm going through
That's
that.
right. And it
It's super
compounds.
crazy.
No, you're right, Pinky. And it compounds too, because, if you're a person who, for instance, we just talked about this, right? I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then I read a whole bunch of other books, right? But it was that one book that changed me from moment to moment. And there was something in that book. There was one sentence in there that really resonated with me that changed everything, right? And without that, who knows what my life's trajectory would have been, if I hadn't read that book and read that one sentence. So I'm encouraging the listeners once again, be here, be now, listen to yourself, and be open and know that everything changes and that life is abundant out there. And
That's true.
it's really, I love how we're talking about mindset because that's always the basis of it all, right, Vinky?
That's so true. I agree with you 100% because if you have the open mindset, you can create anything, whatever you want. Because otherwise, you can read like Julian books, you can listen to Julian podcasts. Nothing is gonna happen.
Right.
So let's talk about your first raise. I know you're raising millions of dollars and you have created a huge portal for yourself. So let's talk about your first raise, how you got started. Or were you scared, or what kind of thought process you were going through?
Oh
You're a totally
boy.
different person now.
Yeah, man, oh geez. So, when I first got started in this business, I was doing a lot of joint ventures. So I was putting my own money in with other people who had seen what I was doing with the single family space, right? Many, many years ago. And as I put as they saw what I was doing, they wanted more of it. So I didn't have to go out there and sell myself necessarily, right? At least in the very beginning. But, as I started educating people, they got more and more curious. And I wrote the book, right? And writing the book really helped out and gave me some credibility factor. And then, I did what Michael Blanc suggested. Michael Blanc suggested that I build a sample deal package, right? This was many years ago when I first heard this, and I thought it was genius. And it gave me a way to kind of pass out, hey, would you be interested in this? And got the conversations going, right? But I was so nervous, Vinky, when my first raise came. And I realized that doing the asset management, because I didn't know how to close on a property, I couldn't get loans, I didn't know any of that. I realized that my own place was to find someone that I trusted online who could do deals that has a strong track record and that I liked and that I could meld with, and then see if I could add value to them by bringing them investors, right? And that's exactly what I did. So I found someone in Texas who had been doing things that I really liked. And because of the pandemic, I had gotten to know them over a period of 6 to 8 months on Zoom calls every single week on LinkedIn. And we built a relationship, and I told him, hey, what deal do you have coming up? And I asked him to send me info on it. And I was like, would you be okay if I could try to raise money for this? And he's like, sure. How much could you bring, or do you think? And I was like, well, I don't know. And he's like, well, you got to tell me that before we get this going. And so my heart was pounding, Vinky. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I could do 300K, 300,000. That's what I think. And my heart was pounding so fast as soon as I said that. And as soon as I gave it so much diligence, and I was ready, all my investors were ready because they had built up a trust with me already, because I'd been educating them through the space. They've been watching me. And then, in that first raise, we were able to get 500K. And so we well exceeded my $300,000 target. And it's kind of all just going from there. After we closed on that one, then it became more a matter of me doing my own deals, right? And bringing my own capital and my own broker relationships and everything into it to assemble the whole thing myself. And so that's kind of how it all started with the first one.
Wow, great. So now you're a sponsor yourself, right? So you're
That's
doing
right.
your end-to-end deal yourself from acquisition to exit all the way.
Yep, absolutely. That's right.
So do you have anybody else in your team besides Sophie, or is just like you two running the whole show?
Yeah, well, it is us running everything. We do have one virtual professional, and we're very process oriented. So we have one guy, he's amazing, doing all of our graphics, our website, social media, and podcasts. He's doing all of it because we have systems set up for him to help make it easier. And then, we have partners that we have repeat in each deal, and we have boots on the ground partners in every market that we're in that constantly repeats, is always with us. So even though we're our own firm, we joint venture with other people, and we go in together on these properties. And we've done about 6 or 7 properties so far right now. 3 of them are syndications, and we're under contract on another one right now in a different market. And so, yeah, we use the same people over and over again for the asset management and for the boots on the ground part of it.
Oh, interesting. So I'm going to ask you this question. What led you to write this book, Part-Time Real Estate Investing for Full-Time Professionals? Because that like really resonates with me, because I do have a corporate background as well. I mean, if I had this book when I was working, it would have helped me a lot. And I just wanted to understand that, how did it come about, or how did you think, let me help the other professionals? Because I learned the secret, or like wealth generating secret, right? So you can share with everybody else.
Yes, I think what it was is I kept getting the same questions over and over again. People kept coming to me and saying, how did you do this, right? Or they did their own research, and then they started asking really intricate questions about, like, well, how do you determine ARVs, right, of single family homes? Or, how long should this take me? Or how much money should I set aside? And so, when I was structuring the book, I kept those people in mind, and I had one avatar, one specific person that I was writing this book for, who was really curious about everything, I was doing. And so I wrote the book as if I was talking to that person,
Nice.
and I wrote the book in 30 days.
Wow.
So, and I'd be happy to show you my mind map. And I went through self-publishing school to do it, but I was really motivated because I knew this was a leverageable thing. I knew that if I could answer all of his questions, then everyone else's questions would get answered. So I made that person my avatar, spent about half the book on mindset, because really that's what it is, Vinky, right? Is the first half of the book. First half of the book is what to expect, how to get ready for it, how to get your spouse on board, the advantages and disadvantages, how you make money with real estate, a lot of the basics, right? And then the second half of the book is very execution heavy, how to determine ROI, how to make sure that the deal is right, what to look for in turnkey properties if you're going to go that route, and how long it should take you to close. And my timeline, my exact project management timeline, it took me from trying to find a deal to closing, and all the activities that happened in between it on a Gantt chart, and then how quickly it changed the second time around, and then the third time around, and how it compounds and goes faster and faster. So I tried to hit my entire experience with that book, and I really put my heart and soul into it. So I hope everyone enjoys it.
Wow. So you said one term, mind map. So you want to talk about that a little bit? How did you do the layout for the mind map in your book?
Yeah, for sure. So the mind map for the book, this is how I was able to write the book in 30 days. But basically, you start with the central idea for whatever it is that you want to do. And that is usually the title of your book, right? Or something along those lines. So for me, it was, corporate employees escaping W-2 side hustle, that type of thing. And then what you do is you draw main points that comprise that. Like there's a mindset piece, and then there's an execution piece, and then there's like a support piece, right? So you have to have all 3 of those things there. Then I go into what comprises each of those, like what is so big about mindset that needs to be touched on. And you keep branching out from there, right? So you start with the central idea in the very center of the page. Then you have 3 or 4, main parts of the book, so to speak, like ideas. And then you go into details, and you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into these layers. And then after that, you build a outline, right, with the information that you've organized on sticky notes. And then you take the sticky notes, and each one of those sticky notes is a chapter or part of a chapter. And then you can kind of like move them around on a table to sequence your book and figure out how you want to write it. That's how you do it.
Wow, I love that. It's just like, drilling down, taking the bigger points and then drilling down, like we say in the project management too. I think that's what you did that, because you're a project manager by trade. So you use all those skill sets, because it's like they say, problem is not a problem itself. It's like a bunch of problems put together, and you need to drill down to figure out what exactly the cause is. And that's what you did. And that's how the book came about. I'm super excited for you.
Yeah.
Now, what is the future look like for you? What do you want it to do next?
Yeah, before I answer that, I want to also encourage you and the audience too. If you don't think that you have a book in you, you're wrong. Everyone does. I happen to write one that was 150 pages. You can write one that's 50 pages. You can write one that's 25 pages. It doesn't matter. I think everyone could write a book. So anyway, just wanted to make sure that that was out there. And you should do that, because no one throws away books. They do throw away business cards, but if you gift out books to people, they're going to give that to another person. And it's just going to keep helping people that you just will never see, right? Until they come to you and they make themselves visible. So that's that. As
Yeah,
far as, yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to say, I really agree with you on that, because everybody's story is different. Because a lot of
Yeah.
people, they think, oh, what should I write about? Everything is already written. There's like jillion books already there. Why should I write another book? But the thing is, everybody process information differently. So the way you're processing the information, the way your story is not going to be the same, like in the 1,000 other books. So when you write your story, there might be somebody out there who needs to hear your story and they resonate with you. So it's a good idea always to write your story
Bingo.
and share with the public.
Beautiful. They may resonate with your words better than someone else's. That's just the way that it is. Anyways,
Exactly.
to answer your other question about, what's next for us 3 to 5 years from now, we see ourselves most likely in Europe, living in Europe, most likely with kids or with a family. And that's really what we're focusing on right now. I mean, obviously, I could tell you that we're looking at getting 2,000 units and, $150 million under assets under management. But to be honest with you, I don't think that's really our big why. We really want to help people and educate people to walk the path that we walked. And real estate investing is a vehicle to help create some of the financial necessities to be able to do that, right? It can be any other side hustle, but we want to enable that for the people that work with us. We obviously will give them opportunities to invest, in passive generating income projects that can help create that for them. But I think for us, it's speaking, inspiring people that it's 3 layers of financial independence, not just one, and that anyone can do this if they really want to. So that's kind of where we're looking to now, and we want to help 1,000 families escape their full-time position or out of their ruts and get them at least locationally independent.
Wow, I seriously love your mindset, Derek. I can keep on talking to you, but I'm sorry, we are a little bit short on time. So I'm going to ask you,
Understood.
can you share one golden nugget with my audience?
Yes, golden nugget is how I created my side income empire. 4 C's, the 4 C's: consistency, clarity, coaching, connections. Okay. If you can lean into one of those things, one of them, for me, it was consistency. I knew that if I had went into the office every morning 1 hour early before the entire office got there and focused on my real estate investing there, either reading books, reaching out to people, going out to bigger pockets, listening to podcasts, building a plan, trying to find rental properties for that 1 hour a day, that was my C, my consistency C. And then you know what happened, Vinky? I started to get clarity on what I wanted because of
That's
that.
true. Mhm.
Then coaching started emerging after that. And then with the coaching came the community. So you can do it in any way. You can start with clarity and be like, I really want this, and
Beautiful.
visualize it. And then all the other things will start coming in. Or you can start with your connections. Maybe you're surrounded around real estate investors, start talking with them. And then the other 3 C's will come. Or you can get a coach, right? Like Vinky is awesome at educating, and I'm sure that for the right people, she may be able to help mentor. I don't want to put you out there, Vinky, for that, but if you find a coach, she's going to tell you to do things that will require those other 3 C's, and it's just going to come, right? So as a full-time employee, we know you don't have time. We know that you're busy. We know that everything's there. Find one of those C's: consistency, clarity, coaching, connections, one of them to lean into, and the other will follow over time. It's just a matter of time. It's a law of nature.
That's true. You need to focus. That's the main thing. Do whatever one C, focus on one thing. So this brings us to our rapid fire round. I didn't tell
Okay.
you about that. It's a surprise.
No worries. Okay.
So I'm going to ask you 5 questions, spontaneous answers, 1 word or 1 sentence only. Ready?
Okay. Let's
Okay.
do it.
What is one of the best skills that you have learned that it worked for you all this time?
I would say managing fear,
Oh, that's a
conquering
good
fear.
one. That's a really good one. Once you manage your fears, you're complete, right?
You
No
can step into
hesitations, no
anything.
limitations, which is awesome. What is the best book that you have read or recommend other than Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Oh man. Oh boy. Well, there's so many. I want to give two. I want to give the one thing, which I'm sure you've heard a lot, and
Mhm,
Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits really backs up to my consistency tendency.
mhm, mhm.
And I think it's just one of those amazing books that can totally change your life.
Great. What is your biggest passion?
I think it is educating others and inspiring them to do what we're doing. Um, that just really lights me up because we love our lives and we love how abundant it is, and we want others to feel that same thing too.
Yeah, get the taste of it. I agree.
Yeah.
In one word, what does life mean to you?
Life is abundant.
I
Life is
love that.
truly abundant. And there's gratitude everywhere. So the more gratitude you have, the more abundance there is. So
I
yeah.
agree that 100%. Gratitude becomes abundance. Uh,
Yes.
if you got a chance to change one thing in your life right now, or even if you have to go back in your life, what would that be?
I think it would be making a habit of facing my fears earlier. We only know what the limits of our capacities are until we find out what we're afraid of. As soon as you find that, that's the limit of what you're able to do. And the sooner you can break through that, the sooner you become limitless. And so I wish I had known that back when I first started in college and, getting into school, because man, fear has driven me for so many years but not anymore.
That's true, because fears create limitations, and fear is nothing, it's just a knowledge gap. As long as you
Yeah,
have the understanding of the situation or whatever you're looking at, there's no fear because you're not hesitant if you have the knowledge. You take chances then. So, how
bingo.
can people reach out to you, Derek?
Yeah, I think the easiest thing to do is to check out our podcast, which is the Elevate Your Equity podcast. And then also for those listeners who are out there who want to find out how my wife and I created all of this equity for us to be able to escape our full-time job, go to elevateequity.org/podcast gift. It's a free PDF that'll help show you how you should be focusing on the areas of your life to maximize your chances of escaping your full-time job and making your side hustle become your full thing.
Thank you, Derek. I really enjoyed the conversation today.
It was a pleasure, Vinky. Thanks for having me on.